Our guest today is Molly Adkins. She's a sound practitioner who has an extensive resume as a teacher and guide, who also introduces people to the wonders of sound and self-healing. So she gave Paul and me a homework assignment at the end of our conversation, and we thought it would be something worth sharing at the beginning of this episode. So instead of having you wait for it till the end,
So we want you, before listening to the episode, we want you to pause and tone the following sound. And it goes like this. Or you can do it lower. I just want you to do this a few times, and it helps communication and self-expression. And it helps you loosen up your voice and speak with power and honesty.
all right, Paul, so ready? So I with us and follow along with Molly in this episode. We get the pleasure of talking to Molly Adkins, who is all things sound, all things yoga, and has a lot of experience under both of those areas. But I want to start with Molly. Can you just tell us a little bit about your education background and then how that kind of formed you into the sound healing portion of it? And then we'll just start with that. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I would have never thought, 40 years ago that I'd be doing sound healing now when I was a voice major as an undergrad and loved music and the interesting thing about that is that I didn't start my voice major until I was a junior in college. I kept dancing around it, wanting to be in music, but that fear of what am I going to do with music,
Yeah, the thing that we all hear. What are you going to do
right,
with that arts
right,
thing?
exactly. And I also had a extreme stage fright. So those two things combined
Ooh,
made it really
yeah.
tough to be a music major, especially voice, because you're in the center of everything, right?
Yeah.
But I just loved it so much. I was taking voice lessons at the university where I was, and my voice teacher was just like, "We're going to set up a interview with the director for you just to see what happens. Do an audition." So I walked in. It was, usually you have to do this whole big process, but they just set up an appointment. I went in and into the practice room of the director of this music school, of course, extremely nervous, didn't even finish the song. He stops and he goes, "Go tell him you've just been accepted to the school and get you going." I was just like,
You're
oh,
in. Yeah.
Wow.
not what I expected, right? So
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, I did my master, my undergraduate there, and then I had this interest in Japanese culture and language.
Mm.
And I'm not really sure where that came from, except for I'm one of those people, I love to do what everybody else is not doing. And
Mhm.
so that uniqueness of things.
Yeah.
So I was taking Japanese lessons instead of the usual Italian that a voice major would take. And I are taking Japanese classes. And one of the teachers talked about possibilities of going to Japan and teaching English. And I was like, I can do that.
Ooh.
And so I applied for this job, got the job, moved to Japan right after I graduated.
Wow.
And while I was there, I was, of course, studying Japanese language, but then it's like, I should be studying Japanese music too. So I found a teacher, and that was a kind of a funny story. I just told one of my students, I was at a lifelong learning center, and I was like, yeah, or I told the class, I was like, yeah, I'm really interested in learning Japanese folk song. And the next week, one of the students came back, was like, I found a teacher for you. I was like,
Oh
oh,
my God.
oh, I don't know how serious I was about that, but okay.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I ended up, a long story, but I ended up staying in Japan for 11 years. During the first 5 years, I was doing, of course, Japanese language study,
Mhm.
studying this voice. I was changing my voice completely from opera, right? We know opera,
Mhm.
to this Japanese sounding folk song, this folk song that has been passed down for generations. It's rote memorization. There's no sheet
Mm.
music, right? These days they have lyric sheets, but
Mm.
not like the notes and how you do it. So it's just one-on-one. The teacher sings it, I sing it back, and he's like, no, that's wrong. And do that for, I don't know, however many times it takes. Some songs took months to learn.
Wow.
So
Um,
that was a vocal oral transition or
Audition.
translation. All of that was you had direct access to that type of teaching.
Yes, so it was very traditional style of learning. Usually, I was the youngest. I was in my 20s at that time. The
Mm-hmm.
next student, all of the other students were in their 50s and 60s, 70s.
Mm.
This is, that traditional music, work songs, festival songs, that type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that. If you think about music here in the States, Appalachian music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that kind of
Mm-hmm.
type of music. So I was completely changing my vocal quality, vocal tone. Eventually, this is about my 5.5 years into being there. I won a competition as a Japanese folk song singer, a national. You go up levels, local, regional. Eventually got to nationals. Nationals, there were only 10 people in the country that get to nationals, and I was one of those 10. I didn't win, but boy, I felt pretty proud of myself.
That's an
Wow.
You know,
accomplishment.
against
Yeah.
all Japanese, and here I am.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, got to that level. Also got my Japanese proficiency language test. I got the highest level, so saying that I passed the highest level, saying that I was fluent in Japanese,
Mm.
reading, writing, speaking, listening. And then I also got accepted to the Japanese National University of Fine Arts and Music at that
Mm.
time. And kind of all spearheaded in that 1 year. And I started my master's degree, and I ended up using myself as a case study.
Sorry, I
Pause for a drink of water.
was trying to mute it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, so I was doing my master's degree at the university and using myself as my own case study and exploring the idea of bimusicality
Mm.
Mm.
and kind of like bilinguality,
Hmm.
so can one person sing two different types of music and then not have them influence the one or the other?
Oh,
That
wow.
was that was the
Yeah.
key right
Yeah. Yeah.
there. Can I sing opera and sound like an opera singer? Can I sing Japanese song and sound like a Japanese person? And it was a very, very interesting research. I got to make a video of my vocal cords and all
Wow.
these
Mm.
kind of
Wow.
things.
Did
Wow.
you find that your consciousness even changed as you switched over into Japanese mode? Like you could go back and forth between frames of mind or
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. I would definitely notice how my how I hold my body
yeah,
even
yeah,
changed, right? So opera, you're like tall, hands out, just like, really big
yeah.
presence. The Japanese music is hands in front, very subdued, quiet,
Hmm.
this more of that type of what's the word?
Private, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just
Huh.
showing a different side, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So tapping into that culture piece was actually one of the things that I wrote about is that,
Yeah.
I could change my vocal quality, but how well do I know the culture behind it?
Yeah.
Person singing.
And do the music from the inside out. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Um,
have this visual of you, your inner, the body inside of you, like I see this column of sound, that you turn, contort, hold, expand, but I
Mm.
just see this big column of just sound that comes, but you can control it. When you were talking about that, that's how I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, is that
Yeah.
changing that. what's happening inside,
Mm,
to be able to bring up those different
The nuances.
the nuances, right? It's
Mm.
not just the technique or the
mm,
vocal quality, it's the nuance, the feelings, the emotion
mhm,
behind it. I don't know what it's like to plant rice in a rice paddy in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do know, like physical work, working physically, working in my own garden, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I know how
mhm.
hard that can be on days, may not be like that, but
Right.
just being able to make those connections between cultures, or
Mm.
the sadness of, you know how, what am I trying to think of a
Yeah,
song
you
I'm
absorb that from
yeah,
just being around the people there. You absorb the some history, or at least the feeling of the history and
yeah,
the
absolutely,
way of thinking.
right. Yeah, so all of that happened,
Mm.
and then came back into the United States in the year 2000. I was continuing to do some research and some festivals around, but not doing a whole lot here. It was hard. At that time, I felt like it was hard to sell myself as a Japanese folk song singer, looking the way I do,
Yeah.
being very American, but people would accept me as a researcher as opposed to a singer,
Mm,
and like a researcher who could also sing. And
mhm.
Mm.
so that was an interesting, I ended up getting a job at a high school and not teaching music, but teaching Japanese language and culture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was quite fascinating. And I did teach, gosh, it was 20, 22 years, another 22 years of
Mm.
teaching Japanese. I kind of got away from the music scene, but during that time, I
Was
could,
that a traditional high school? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was it a
yeah,
traditional
yeah, public high
public
school.
high school? Okay. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt.
that's quite right.
Yeah.
Public high school, just, it was interesting to watch the changes of the students over the years, And I was doing some music, not a whole lot, but I could also feel, looking back on it, now I can see it, how I changed as I slowly stopped singing and using sound vibrations in my life,
Oh. Huh.
right?
Yeah.
So I was, towards the end, when I finally decided to make that big decision to quit my job, I was very depressed. I was frustrated. I was, just so many things. But when I was singing, I was in a really good mood. I was
Hmm.
happy with things are tough. I'm not going to say that. Sorry.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that life was all easy when I was a singer. Things were tough, but I felt like, looking back, like vibrations were keeping me in tune,
Mm.
Hmm.
keeping
Hmm.
me balanced, right? Yeah, and then
So can I pause you for a sec? Say a
mhm.
little more about that. What do you mean by sound vibrations, even though you weren't singing, you weren't
Yeah.
teaching? Yeah, expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah. So when I sing, or when people sing, anybody sings,
Okay.
we are experiencing the vibrations of our voice within our body. And we are consciously, singers are, if you're singing Japanese or singing Western music, opera in particular, you're sending those vibrations to the head, or
Uh-huh.
you're sending it to the chest area, right? They actually even call it the head voice and chest voice,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right? And if we think now, at that time I couldn't express it this way, but think now, like the head voice, this is like the third eye, the crown,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Chakras. And
Hmm.
then the chest voice, this is the heart chakra, the solar plexus, sending it in the vibrations into these areas. And just by sending vibrations into these different areas of our body, we're also working on, even though it was unconscious at the time, working on balancing the energies of our body.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, as while being a singer, I was doing
Mhm.
that unconsciously. I couldn't even express the words energy healing until about 6 years ago. So this is quite interesting to look back
Yeah.
on it. And then when I started teaching Japanese, and music slowly just dissipated from my life because I was so working, working full time as a public high school teacher. It takes a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yes.
It was draining.
Mhm.
I didn't know I was an empath. I didn't know what that meant.
Yes.
I was taking on the energy of 1,600 students every day as I was walking
Right.
into the high school,
Right. Yeah.
so all of this was affecting me. Um, and, there's a lot going on in public schools. And so I was taking on a lot of energy from the people around me as a high school teacher, and also at the same time, no longer singing. So
Yeah.
wondering, I look back on it, I wonder if I had kept up my singing, if I would have been able to handle the
Mm,
energy of the space better.
mm,
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then yeah, it was about 6, 7 years ago, I took this yoga class out of the blue that also had mantra chanting, and
mm.
another class at the same studio that had crystal singing bowls. And that's the moment when my eyes were opened. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
what is going on with
Yeah.
my body? I'm in yoga class and standing in warrior pose, and I've got tears coming down my face. I'm like, what's
Oh,
going on? I don't
oh,
know.
oh.
So that was my turning point to move into energy healing, sound healing.
Yeah. Did you start collecting bowls, or what was your first move into it?
Yeah, I interestingly, I uh, got a grant from the high school where I was teaching to purchase a set of singing bowls to use them at the
Wow.
school.
Wow.
Crazy.
Nice.
Uh, it was so interesting. So yeah, I was really quite surprised that they allowed me to get these bowls, but
Mm.
we had a period during the day that was called tutorial time, and we were supposed to be tutoring students on our own subjects. Like I should have been tutoring Japanese, but I set up a class for yoga and sound healing.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
it was quite interesting. The first time I offered it, there was a glitch in the system because students go in, they look at all of the things that are
Mm,
being offered, and they go, okay, I want to take this, this, this.
mhm.
And there was a glitch in the system, and I had 70 students sign up for that first class. I was only supposed to have 20.
Oh my. Oh my.
And I was like, okay, this is a good sign. And
Yeah.
ended up collaborating with the librarian and the social worker. We moved that class out of my classroom and into the library. And so
Mm.
we had to take out 20 of the kids. We only allowed the 50,
Oh my gosh.
only 50 during 40 minutes time. So I would
Wow.
fly
Yes. And
out
yes.
of my
Mm.
classroom I had a wagon with all my crystal singing bowls, and I'd
Oh, I
rush
can
down.
visualize it. I see it.
I'm like,
That's
Yeah.
get out of my way. I'm
Nice.
going to sound healing.
the
I'm
traveling
gonna go do
teacher.
calm things. Quick,
Yes.
quick, quick. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd set up, and it was just amazing to see the
Wow.
students
Hmm.
and how they respected the space.
Right.
That
Mm.
part was just, to this day, I remember they knew that as soon as they passed through that threshold of coming through the main entrance of the library and into the space where I was doing the yoga and sound healing, they stopped talking. It was just like
Hmm.
no
Mm.
talking. They just came in peacefully, sat down on their yoga mat. We had them all set up, 50 yoga mats set up before they got
Wow.
there. They
Wow.
sat down, and as everybody was filtering in, I'd go around with a Tibetan singing bowl and be playing it like over each student's crown chakra, and once everybody got settled, I'd do some 20 minutes of yoga, whatever left over time I had to do
Right.
sound healing. And then the most amazing part about that is that I had more than one student, but one came back to me afterwards talking about how the sound healing affected them, or the class. And
Right.
they said, one girl says, she goes, yeah, I had a math test right after the tutorial, right after the session with you. And she goes, it's the first time in my life I got an A on my math test.
Oh,
Mm.
She's like, I just felt so relaxed and
wow.
felt
Wow.
confident in what I could do. And
Yeah.
she's just like, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wow. Wow.
That was
I'll
amazing.
That's incredible. I'm going to interject here as an educator. As you well know, was the director for arts and physical education for Denver Public Schools, and I was a teacher in the public school system. But yes, to everything you just said. I mean, what a 70 students. What are they saying? Yes, we are responding to something that piques our interest and is
Yes.
interesting. And then for the student to follow up and say that to you about the math test and feeling
Did
very relaxed.
did administration take notice and say, "Wow, this is popular. We're getting a lot of comments. We
Yeah,
better cut your
actually,
funding." No, no, no.
actually, one of the assistant principals came and watched the class every time.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was there. I
Nice.
could always see him standing in the background, watching, going
Well,
Yeah.
on, listening
he
to
was
the sound.
watching and receiving, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
And
yes.
receiving while he was
Very
there.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so many fun things that you just talked about as, and this is just a commentary on our education system that good things and obviously some things that need a lot of improvement on, but just the teacher will travel with their stuff, do everything they need to within this short amount of time.
Yeah.
And, and then kids need to, it's almost like we've trained our kids to say you can have this much information just for this amount of time, but boy, you gave it to them. You gave them the best quality that you could, but that's, there's an imbalance and also, but I'm still going to insert this right there because it's needed.
Yeah. That's
Big
a bold move.
commentary.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm curious, I'd love to be able to go back and see how many students went on to, explore it more.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, that
Well,
would
I
be
mean,
a
right?
cool
That's
sociological study.
Well,
Just to see.
that's even the thing of is you just don't know when you plant a seed, when it's going to
Yeah.
germinate, when it's going to finally, you don't know that. But
That ripple effect. Yeah.
again, part of being a teacher is you're not attached to those things. You just do what you need to and you do it and you trust that it's going to work. And boy, that must have given you a shot in the arm of, I've got to do more with this, which is what
Yeah.
you did, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was that, going back, I had taken that yoga class and I wrote that grant to get the crystal singing bowls, but I didn't know what I was doing with them right?
Mhm.
At that time. I was
Right.
like, the typical, like, oh, I'm a music major. I can
Of
put
course.
bowls together. I know how to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music theory. Um, but I felt that there was more. So I looked into getting certified as a sound healing practitioner.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And even before that, I did my Reiki. I became a Reiki master practitioner. So I
Oh,
learned about energy healing. Then I did my yoga teaching certification and then stepped into sound healing certification.
Hmm.
And even after that, I did intuitive life coach certification as well. So all of
Hmm.
this using intuition, using energy healing to help heal, that guide people in their process.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started doing the certification process with the Sound Healing Academy.
Mhm.
And this is all in Indiana where I was living at the time. And
Where in Indiana?
I was living in Bloomington, the
Hmm.
home of Indiana University.
Okay. Yeah, I went there.
Oh, did you? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I briefly I attended. I took a semester off from my university, and I thought I want to study music in Bloomington, Indiana, and went to the music school there.
Yeah, it's the place to be. It's the
Yeah,
place to be
it was
for
the
sure.
hopping place for music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah.
Did you
So
grow up in Indiana, or where are you from?
yeah, I did. I grew up in Indiana. Lived in a
What
couple different.
what part?
First, I was through my freshman year of high school. I was in Batesville, Indiana. It
Okay.
was a very small town, 3,000 people
Hmm.
at that time, and then moved into South Bend, Indiana.
Hmm.
My dad got a job up in South Bend, so we moved there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that I went to university at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and then I went to
Yay.
Japan. Yay! And I went to Japan, and then I came back thinking, trying to figure out where I was going to go. Ended up back in Indiana and
Mm-hmm.
staying in going to Bloomington. And then when I made my big leap to quit my job and jump into sound healing, I was like, where do I want to do this? I was like, I
Yeah.
want to go back to Colorado. I love
Yeah.
Colorado. So here I
Yeah.
am in Colorado.
Well, we were neighbors then. I grew up in Mishawaka.
Oh, awesome.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably played you guys in soccer and yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to Riley or Adams or where'd you go to?
I was
Or
at Clay High School.
okay. Yeah, we played you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's awesome.
That is funny. I went to Penn High School.
Penn, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a good friend who's teaching at Penn,
Oh,
teaching
wow.
Japanese.
Small world, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Huh.
Paul, I love how you said that. Yeah, we played you guys. There's a
Yeah.
sound
I
of how
probably
you
beat you
said
guys
that. Yeah, I
too.
think that's really what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
Well, we
probably
were
did.
state
You
champions.
probably were. We were the stage. Okay, Paul. All right.
Hmm.
I
So
gotta
I have
get.
a question, and this was actually one of the things we thought of asking you, but I I like finding out people's description or definition of healing, like what healing is to them. It I think it's kind of personal, um, and I've heard a lot of definitions of what healing is and how you do healing for someone else. Some people say you really can't heal somebody else. You can facilitate their healing journey, but you don't do the healing. And like the bowls don't do the healing, but so where do you fall on that spectrum of what healing is?
Yeah, great question. I purposely do not call myself a sound healer, but
Hmm.
a sound healing practitioner,
Mm,
because I
Okay.
believe that exactly what you already said is that I'm not doing the healing for somebody else. They're doing their healing themselves. They heal themselves. I'm just the guide.
mm,
Hmm.
So, where am I in that process, right? How do I guide people?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where yeah, I'm as the practitioner, I'm bringing in so many different resources from different areas that I've been practicing, right?
Yeah.
And some of that is the understanding of how the vibrations or combinations of instruments, combinations of the intervals can facilitate the different areas. It can facilitate relaxation. It can
Yeah.
facilitate the releasing of energy that might be stuck in somebody's bioenergetic field.
Do you
So
do this intuitively? Like you really sense the person and say, you know what? We need this one today, or we need that, or is there more like a method that you've learned in the Sound Academy?
yeah, there's definitely a method. There is a 10-step process that we use once you
Hmm.
go through level two. But mostly what I'm doing is I'm listening to the vibrations of the instrument and how it's interacting with the energy of that person.
mm,
So I have a Tibetan Himalayan singing bowl that has always been my assessment tool. Other people use different things like tuning
mm,
forks or bells or whatnot. Some people maybe not sound healers, but some people use maybe a pendulum or muscle testing, different things like that, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Reiki, you're just feeling the energy. Um, but I use a Tibetan singing bowl. I know what that bowl sounds like when it's just resonating by itself, like
mhm,
without interacting with energy, just its
mhm,
natural resonance, vibration. But when I can bring that through a person's energy field or
mm,
place it on their body, I can hear the vibration and how it changes. So when there's a change, depending on the type of change, I can determine whether it's excessive energy or deficient energy in that area, regardless of which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I a couple of things are coming to me right now. One is depending on what it is, if it's excessive energy, I think back to our conversation before we started the session. What are they saying? You know,
Yeah.
and then I can almost always be like, okay, they were talking about they were just they just moved, or they were having a hard time with a move that they had. Moving, changing houses, changing homes comes with a lot of loss and grief, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, that. So then I can say, okay, on the left side near the heart chakra, I'm hearing uh, a deficient energy. Then I can say, oh, that must be related to the conversation we just
Right.
had about their move, and there's something going on here. So then I can bring in other instruments and start working with the energy in that specific area. So then I continue, like there's certain instruments that I use through that can help with shaking up energy, shakers in particular,
Hmm.
right? Shakers or
Hmm.
rattles, that type of thing is great for shaking up and getting the energy moving. So once you get that energy moving and not just stuck, if you've read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? Our bodies hang on to any type of emotion that we haven't dealt with, right? And
Yeah.
once we can release that emotion, release that stuck energy, then I can come back in and start working on balancing and bringing in that more natural vibration
Yeah.
for an individual. So that is my process. I do use a combination of my knowledge, right, the
Hmm.
science, the understanding of how energy moves, and the combinations of instruments, like I said, or um, intervals or triads, three
Hmm.
notes together, and I'm also tapping into my own intuition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do get downloads, or I feel, as I expressed, I'm an empath, so I can, if when I allow myself to open up to my client and connect with their energy, I can oftentimes feel the same feelings that they're having, whether it's a physical. Sometimes I've gotten like get a little bit of a stomach ache. I'm working with a client and I'll walk past and I'm like, oh gosh, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh wait, it just went away. And I'll walk back like, oh,
Yeah.
it's right here. It's
Yeah.
their
Like a
stomach
magnet.
ache.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or
So you
there's
can
one
discern
client.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I can feel that in my body.
Mhm.
I There was one client I was working, and this session was absolutely profound. Two things happened. One, talking about this feelings, right? I was walking by. It was actually that left side, that grief side again, and I just felt this intense sadness in my body, and I just like, wow, what's going on? And she hadn't talked about anything about this. I was like, and I don't talk a lot during a session, but with her, I was just like, hey, have you? And I said specifically, I said, is your mom still with us? Is she still in this world? And she's like, well, my mom has Alzheimer's and I can't connect with her and I'm having a hard time dealing with
Mm.
losing her,
Hmm.
right? She's physically still in the world, but not being able to communicate and talk with her mom. And that was just, and so she was feeling that energy, right? Or she had that
Yeah.
imbalance of energy there, and that I was feeling that. Same client, same session. I'm working around, her. And this honestly, rarely happens, but I was walking, it was around her feet. Feet are like stepping forward, or mini chakra, right? Stepping forward, or the knees are about grass is greener on the other side kind of mentality, right?
Mm.
And I was walking around and I felt like, I felt like thick energy, like I was walking through something.
Mm.
And and I immediately said, I was like, hey, I think, and this is what came to me. I was like, I think your dad is here visiting.
Oh my.
And
Mm.
I said, is there something that you would like to say to him? And she did. And she had had a lot of trauma with her dad as she was growing up. And she said what she had to say. And as soon as that, she's like, it was like that that cloud left. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't feeling that thickness in the air. I don't know how to express it really, but it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like it left. And she's like, after the session, oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Mhm.
After the session, I feel so much lighter. I feel like I was finally able to tell my dad the things that I wanted to say when I was
Mhm.
young,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and was able to, going back to that, energy sticks to us like Velcro, right? Stuck energy, if we don't deal with it until we deal with it, it's stuck to us. And then it can come up as a physical manifestation. It can come up in how we approach life energetically, um, our mental and emotional processes, stepping out into the world, right? How we deal with
Hmm.
things
Mhm.
can be affected by how we've dealt with our past
Mm.
Yeah.
trauma, right? We've all had trauma, whether it's a small t, little traumas or
That's
big
right.
traumas.
No.
We've all had trauma, things that we've
I've heard
experienced that we may not have let go of.
I heard emotions and trauma expressed sometimes as like you're ringing a bell, and but the bell isn't allowed to ring. Like something is hitting the bell, but it's just not able to make the sound that it needs to make, and it gets stifled and held in there. So the bell just keeps on quietly, stifledly ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing, trying to get the sound out, trying to get the vibration out of, the response to the trauma. And until you let it ring, it's still trapped in there, internally ringing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's exactly how it is. It's
Mhm.
like it just won't ring until, and then what happens is it's ringing and it's stuck, and so
Hmm.
it's like pushing something into your physical body. A lot of
Yeah.
people,
It'll do all kinds of crazy
yeah,
things when it's
Yeah.
bouncing around inside of
right,
you. Yeah.
Well, so
yeah.
you said two things. It's interesting about you said about the bioenergetic and then you said deficiency energies. So do you have there's a couple of questions behind that. When you have someone that you are working with, do you identify like a baseline of like, how do you know they're deficient?
Mhm.
Mm.
Is there do we all have the same energetic bio? I mean,
Yeah.
how
Do
do you know
humans
that?
have a baseline thing, and then you can tell if there's a dip or a peak?
Yeah,
Is
that
that universal or is that individual? So like
Yeah.
what's the bioenergetics and then how can you determine a deficiency?
yeah.
Have you established a baseline? So
Yeah, so the baseline is, I love that idea, that your thought process, and that each individual person has a baseline, right? Our energy is vibrating at a natural or a balanced resonance. And the Tibetan singing bowl that I use is also, um, it has its baseline I talked about, right? I hadn't thought
Hmm.
about using that word before, but it's like
Mhm,
I know what it sounds like when it
mhm,
is just naturally vibrating. So if
Hmm.
I'm bringing that bowl through the energy of a person who is vibrating most balanced energy, nothing's going to happen to the sound of that bowl,
mhm.
right? It's just going to keep resonating just
Yeah.
as it is. And like, okay, yeah, all right, heart
It
chakra
doesn't
is
get
hitting.
dampened or
Right.
boosted. Yeah.
Exactly. So then when I go through an area of the energy that may be deficient, the vibration actually slows down
Mhm.
Hmm.
or stops sometimes, completely stop. It is the most
Mhm.
crazy thing
Hmm.
where I will bring a Tibetan bowl like towards somebody starting about 3 feet away. Our energy field is about 3 feet around our body, right?
Mhm.
And I'll bring the bowl from about 3 feet away, bringing it into, and at some point it'll like stop ringing and I'll keep going and it'll start ringing again.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
It is the most crazy
Yeah.
thing to actually
Mhm.
experience. You can't even imagine how it happens, right?
Mhm.
But that deficient energy would
Mhm.
be indicated by that slowing
Mhm.
down or
Mhm.
lack of vibration.
Hmm.
Then the opposite of that, excessive energy, I will hear the vibrations will start to chatter. I like to call it chattering, right? So it'll start to
Yeah.
chatter, move really fast, and or have a super high pitch. So I
Mm.
love the Tibetan bowls because to use those because they
Mm.
have lots of overtones. And I'm listening to the different overtones because they're not just one pitch. They have their foundational pitch. They have other sounds as well that are happening.
Yeah.
So when there's excessive energy, I'll just hear this there's a really
Yeah.
high pitch in the
A lot more
bowl.
harmonics up on the,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's yeah, so that's what I'm listening
Mm.
to.
Yeah, no, that's a really good example. So are you saying then that all humans have their own bioenergetic field? Use that, and it's unique to them. And with this Tibetan bowl, it helps you. The baseline is the Tibetan bowl, the reverberation of that. And so those two together, an individual human, that will tell you if they're balanced,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're listening to the Tibetan bowl. So are you saying the Tibetan singing bowl has a balance in and of itself
Yes,
already? That's
Yeah.
okay. Got it.
yes,
Got it.
yes, yes.
Yeah. When we were in Australia, we talked to some Aboriginals who, you use the didgeridoo, and traditionally that's put in it's in a hole in the ground. They'll dig a hole and they'll put this, basically a pipe in the hole. And the symbolism of that is both very personal as a human body being. We're basically like a pipe,
Mhm.
just big fleshy pipe, and put into the ground, into the earth, and then there's resonance within the pipe itself, and then there's resonance when it is put into the earth, and you can feel the vibration and the changes of the vibration depending on what you're doing with the breath that is blown into the pipe. I thought that's a beautiful analogy, and it sounds like it syncs up with this idea of the bowl. Like the body is a bowl of sorts that can ring, and then you bring this other bowl next to this bowl, and either they're going to be
Mm,
like building the harmonic balance and emphasizing it, or canceling each other out with opposite waves and dampening overtones. So it's the bowl and bowl, just like
mm.
the Aboriginal pipe in the ground kind of resonance as well. I'm sure other cultures have similar containers that represent the physical body and the. Have you studied other cultures, other cultural systems, and what they use for healing, sound healing? Much.
Um, yeah, the thing that comes to me most, to answer that question specifically for sound healing, no, I haven't. I mean, in a way, I have because of what I do.
Mm.
I'm now an instructor for the Sound Healing Academy, where I did my
Oh, okay.
certification, and as the process of learning about each of the sound healing instruments, then I'm yes researching or learning about understanding where the instruments come from, or for
Hmm.
example using frame drums, buffalo drum,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the rhythms that I teach at the level 2 are based on the Native American rhythms, and so they're think I do study that as far as like where those rhythms came from, and
Hmm.
how they affect the energies, the seven chakra, and each of the rhythms are like um, you think about directions, north, south,
Hmm.
east, west, also about spirit animals. So that's all about the Native American culture and the rhythms. And
Yeah.
then, Tibetan singing bowls, Himalayan singing bowls are from the Himalayas, gongs are from all over the world, right?
Hmm.
Giant,
Balinese and yeah.
yeah. And then crystal singing bowls and tuning forks are fairly new, in the last 70 years or so to start being used in sound healing. And then the voice, and that's where most of my, my deep research, starting it with my, undergrad and my master's degree, but in the process of studying my master's, I did study the voice of various instrument or various cultures. And the one that's coming up in my mind right now when you ask about sound healing and using certain instruments in different cultures is that the town crier, right?
Hmm.
So there's one person in a town that cries, that initiates crying if someone has passed away, and there is that ceremony of, the funeral, the ceremony for the person who has passed, and one person starts that crying, and
Hmm.
which is crying is a release, right? A way to release stuck energy. So the town crier is allowing, as by them starting the crying, they are allowing everybody in the town to also cry and to also release that energy that might be stuck in their bodies
Unexpressed.
from,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but trying to be expressed in that grief, right? So if you think about that, there's different ways that we use the voice. I'm thinking about Native American voice as well. I was just teaching, I have some one-on-one voice students, and she's really studying the shamanic chanting, and
Mm.
she's like, I've been studying the song, can you help, or chant, can you help me with it? I was like, I've never heard this before, but let me listen to it and see what it is. And it was a Native American chant, and just the way that they were using the vowel sounds and the elongating these really soft and lovely sounds, and then it moved into this faster, quicker pushing, which in my mind I was like, oh, this on this vowel sound, they're pushing the energy out and they're
Hmm.
moving energy quickly, getting things moving, and then it goes back into this gentle relaxation. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just like, it's that same process of the sound healing that I
Yeah.
teach, right? It's
Same arc. Yeah.
right. So I think we definitely, there's so many different ways that we use the voice or any instruments in various cultures uh, to help release energy that might be stuck. For sure, the more traditional cultures, I think, are really tuned in to that energy healing. Sure.
Molly, I had the pleasure and privilege of taking one of the workshops with you. And is it okay if I share one experience from that one of those sessions? Um, you were doing a group sound healing, and you always do a theme when you're doing groups, especially. And I think the theme was release. I can't remember. You'll correct me if maybe you can remember that. But I think the group walked into this session thinking it's going to be calm, we're going to be released, which it was. However, you did this wonderful thing, not just with the instruments, but with your voice. And the best way I could describe it is you were guttural with it. It's almost like you brought the voice of all the pain that's ever been in the universe,
Hmm.
and you expressed it and you used your voice, and what different people were experiencing were crying. One woman's body, like I think her hand ended up just kind of stiffening, but everyone had a visceral effect to it. And here I was in my state, I was observing this, as I call it, like planting myself out in the corner of the upstairs of the room.
Hmm.
And it was incredible just to see how you used your voice to bring back, like recall the memories that were painful of the entire universe. This is again me observing the experience. And every single, because it was just women in the group, I think we're also releasing, but also remembering or experiencing um, a receptive healing of, I remember these wounds and I'm doing my best to release them, but at the same time, it's almost like you just had a different way of expressing what release is. So wonderful. Do you have a memory of that? Do you have any thoughts about that afterwards?
Yeah, thank you for saying all that. That's amazing. It's I lots of things are coming up. I'm stuttering.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
go.
um, I do remember that session, and you know, first of all, everybody experiences the vibrations differently, in the same vibrations, but their experience is different, right? So some people are like, I love that, or even like with the release in this case, like
Mm-hmm,
one person was crying, another person, like their hand was like
mm-hmm,
that. I had forgotten about that, but yeah,
yeah.
that's like tensing up. And so their energy, the imbalanced energy is responding to the energy that I was producing, the vibrations that I was producing, right, with my voice. Um, and when I am chanting or using vocal toning, I am definitely allowing even myself to experience and allow whatever's to come up and
Mhm,
not hold back in my voice. I'm not trying to produce this beautiful operatic voice.
mhm,
Definitely not what I'm trying to do. Just to
mhm.
bring up, yeah, like you said, that ancestral trauma or grief and allowing that to be released from for everybody in the group, right?
Yeah, I got the sense that you didn't anticipate, you didn't walk into it saying, "Oh, I'm going to call upon this." It was an example of you being present and responding
Yeah.
and then giving it out, expelling it.
Yes. Yeah. I have a friend, amazing Reiki practitioner, and we do collaborative sessions together for groups. And she's seen my evolution in my, over the 3 years that I've been, almost 4 years now that I've been doing sound healing. And she's also gone to Japan with me. I took a group of women almost 2 years ago now and to Japan, and we went to Mount Kurama, which is where Reiki was rediscovered, and did all these things. While we were there, I also did a performance with my old Japanese voice teacher, and we
Wow.
did we did a concert. So she got to see me sing Japanese music as I would always sing it, right? And in Japan, in
Mm-hmm.
that natural setting, not just me singing like, oh, okay, let me sing something for you here. So now, after we had been to Japan, she started, my voice started to change. And that's quite interesting as well. Change in not the vocal quality, but what I was allowing to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the first sound bath we did after we came back to Japan from Japan, and she said, it's like there is an old Japanese lady that you are channeling, and she's coming up, and you are expressing everything that through her.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I can hear that voice,
Mm-hmm.
that tone quality, that
Mm-hmm.
grief, that
Mm-hmm.
happiness, all of the things
All of it. Yeah.
coming through. And I am using the process of vocal toning. I use vowel sounds, and I'm always start with the vowel sounds that associate with the crown chakra, and then I move through each of the vowels and end on the root.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I will start with that E sound, that E vowel sound, and what comes through. Sometimes it's a really high pitch, sometimes it's lower, guttural,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's fast, quick, as you said, it comes through.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
allowing that
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah, the way I can describe how you do that is, again, it's like you're following a frequency and you are one with that frequency and you're moving, directing it. And then back to our previous, the word I used, baseline, is everyone comes in with wherever they are. And you just kind of, you little pick at it. You just kind of go into wherever they're supposed to be, they are. And suddenly, and Paul described this really well, like you are a bowl. I call it a pillar of sound. And each one of us were pillars as well. And so, Paul, how did you describe that? Both of us, both,
We're all didgeridoos, right?
we're all
Yeah, we're
didgeridoos.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, our own didgeridoo
Yeah.
history, but it's all collective. And that was the other part of it. I just remember experience, and it's all of it is all of us. We all have contributed to that pain, the sorrow, the joy. It's all of us have been part of that. And yet we are still individuals. And in that individual moment, we each brought our individual experiences and of where we were.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then again, we all left. So you kind of you have to leave it. You've got to leave and do your own journey. You have to continue on it. But just for that moment in time, it was palpable.
Yeah. Do you usually, after a session, do you like prescribe homework for people, or like what do you leave them with? And off you go and try or or get a bowl, or what do you recommend typically?
Yeah, absolutely. Always do give homework to my clients to
Hmm.
continue working on, and that will depend on their journey, right? And
Mm.
so, just like you said, I might give them the vowels sound ah to chant on for themselves. Ah is actually related to the heart chakra.
Hmm.
So, if there's, heart chakra, something going on energetically, I will say, just chant on ah for 5 minutes a day, and then sit in silence for 5 minutes, or go into, if they have a meditation practice, I'll have them use the vocal toning first 5 minutes of your already 30-minute vibrate meditation practice, so you're not adding on more time. And then sit in silence and allow that vibration to do its work. I think
Let it
that's,
echo. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's, some people miss that part, in that silence is just as important as the sound.
Yeah.
So using that time to allow the vibration to um, interact with the energetic field, and allow it to sync up, right?
Yeah.
The imbalances will sync up with
It
that
can be,
vibration.
yeah, it can be very simple and yet very powerful. Very
Yes,
simple.
yes. Yeah,
I have
that's,
a funny story of toning. I guess it would be called toning. When I was teaching my daughter to drive, um, she was pretty nervous. She was 16, getting behind the wheel, and we would go out driving, and she's gripping the wheel really tightly. And I said, "You know what helps? Just hum as you drive. If you ever get in a sticky situation or you're in tense traffic, just hum a little tune." And I said it gets the air moving through you. It gets you vibrating, and it'll start to soothe you. You might even just say ah, just giving her little tiny assignments. And she would, and every once in a while, while I was driving with her, I'd hear her and start humming. Like, okay, I know you're feeling a little nervous now. Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, but she knew what to do, and she instinctively, and she remembered it, and she went for toning and humming to soothe herself back down. So it can
yeah,
be very simple and very powerful.
yeah. I have a life coaching program and business mentorship that's all based on toning. And as my clients are working through their stuff, right? I give them meditation files, and it has a tone for
Mhm.
that is based on their personal musical scale. So this is another layer on top of that, is that we all vibrate at our
Mhm.
own, we all have our own vibration, right? And we all have our own personal musical scale. And I'm able to find your personal musical scale for you, and then, or for my clients, and then I give them files with a tone that's specific for their vibration. So
Mhm.
for example, if their root chakra is an F, that's mine. My root chakra is F, the note F, and so I have, it's a 5 minute toning, and it starts with just that F tone note, and then I add on some other tones on top of that to help with releasing and then balancing as they go through that 5 minutes. So just by humming, a simple humming, you don't even use the vowels if they don't want to.
Mhm.
So just simple hum on that one tone for 5 minutes, and then sit in silence and see what comes up, really, what tapping into their intuition, hearing those messages that they might be receiving from their higher selves
Yeah.
during that time. Yeah, it's really, really cool to be able to find your personal musical scale.
Yeah. There was I read about a tribe, I don't know which tribe it was in Africa that um apparently what they do is when a woman is pregnant, they'll have the elders or the shamans detect what the song of the child is. Have you heard this
I
kind of
have.
story? Yeah. And then they'll sing that song to the child, and then as the child is growing up, it's like their centering song. And if the child, I don't know, goes wayward, starts getting into things they shouldn't be getting into, then the tribe will get together, or people in the tribe will get together and sing the kid's song to bring them back to that center point.
Yeah.
I
So
believe that when I was pregnant with Dominic, I had my own sound with him. Like I just, so even now I could recall it. And then I added a few words to it, but it was still the same. It was wonderful. I have another question for you though. Why yoga and sound? Why is that?
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, tell us about that.
yeah. Yoga and sound are actually an amazing combination. With yoga, we're using, and I'm talking about the asana, right? Poses that as we think of in Western yoga, right? And so it's moving energy physically, right? And each of the asana, each of the poses are working on a different area of the body. And if we really think about yoga in general, much of it is about releasing. And it's a mindset, right? So if if I'm trying to think of an example, if I'm standing in warrior pose, for example, and when I first started doing warrior pose, it was like so painful to hold my arms out straight for 5 breaths. Like I couldn't do it. And I probably did get stronger by doing yoga, but it was also I started to use my mind with like releasing the shoulders or releasing different areas in the body, or even
Mhm.
sitting crisscross applesauce, right? When I first started, it was like my knees were up, way up here. They wouldn't lay down, right?
Hmm.
So then I started thinking about the tension that's holding in my hips, right? So, okay, what would happen if with my mind I would direct like the release of my hips, right? And slowly I was able to sit crisscross applesauce with my knees closer to the floor, or at least at that height of my hips, right? So a lot of it is that mind, it's not mind games isn't the right word, but mindset, and just sending that um, message to different parts of your body that you're going to allow that physical
Mhm.
release. And as you're allowing that physical release, right, you're also working on that emotions and the mental states and things that we already talked about. So the physical part is your of yoga is you're using that release. The sound vibrations, using sound healing, then you're bringing in the vibrations to assist with the release, to assist with relaxation, right? So when I'm doing a session, say if it's a restorative class where in restorative you're holding a pose for a long period of time, could be 10-15 minutes, and I'm not talking about standing in warrior pose. I'm
Hmm.
some people get confused that you're not standing in that position, you're like on the floor being supported by props and that type of thing, allowing your body to release
Mhm.
any tension that you're
Mhm.
holding on to,
Mhm.
or any trauma that you're holding on to, and allowing that to let go of, and then if I'm using I'm thinking about the pose itself. If it's something about grief, about the hips, a lot of us hold grief in our hips, by the way.
Mhm.
So if it's about releasing grief, then I know what to play, which instruments to use that will assist with
Mhm.
allowing that vibration, that trauma to be released at the same time. So it's a double layer, right? You're
Yeah.
getting two for one when you're using the
Mhm.
yoga along with sound. Another way that I use it is with the like meditation process, using a visualization meditation, talking through the intention at the beginning of a yoga class, talking through an intention and setting the intention through vibrations, and then coming back to that intention throughout the class. I love doing that. Actually, it's just, we do a sun salutation, like, okay, recall your intention, bringing that back to your heart, and not just like at the beginning, and then once, maybe or maybe not, some teachers forget to, won't have you recall your intention at the end of a session, but throughout the class itself, just keep coming back to that, resetting that intention for yourself. What is it that you're moving towards, and allowing
Yeah.
the poses to move that vibration, allowing the sound to move that vibration for you.
Mhm. Wow. Um, out of You have a way of articulating this very well. You really do. I think, and I do believe that all of that comes from your intention of being um, respectful of every single tool that you use that will aid the body, the mind, the soul to be at its best capacity. So there's an honesty about how you articulate that as well. Um, I'm just saying.
Mm.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I hear that from you completely.
Yeah, you can kind of tell you came through the teaching portal into this world,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
because that you have the heart of the teacher first
Mm-hmm.
and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
and that service attitude.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Definitely the teaching was, I think I had to go through the teaching. We all talk about our journey, right? And I think being the teacher for so many years was a training for me
Right,
unconsciously.
right, right.
My training to be able to be in the position where I am now, to break things down and be able to express and
Mm-hmm.
teach now for sound healing
Mm-hmm.
for my students.
No, I mentioned this to Paul that where I'm at in my journey of teaching is how to be, how to help, how to be of service without interfering. Um, but you still need to give thoughts, give experience, give,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you still have that other layer where you're still not attached and not interfering?
Oh, see, I approach it differently.
Do you? Tell
Yeah,
me, Paul. Yeah.
I figure I'm going to interfere and I'm going to become attached.
Oh, no,
I
just
just assume that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. When I get a student in front of me, I think, all right, I'm going to find all kinds of things to love about them and get to know them and really root for them and believe in them strongly and pour my heart and soul into, getting them where they want to get to.
yeah.
And I'm going to interfere all over the place with their belief systems and yeah, because they came to me and they want healing and they want a new trajectory. So all right, here we go. Let's do this.
Right.
So totally opposite.
Very opposite.
Yeah.
But the same. Molly, what questions do you have for us, if any? Number one. Number two, is there something that we haven't asked you that you still are just like you really want to talk about or you want to share?
Oh, wow. Mm, I would like to share something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to share is about a little bit more about my own journey into sound healing, and that um, it was, yeah, a big knock. And I think the universe had been knocking on my door for many years to jump into this, um, long before I actually took the big leap. And so when it was at that point, when I made that decision to stop teaching and jump into sound healing, it was more of the being pushed off of a cliff as
Mhm.
opposed to a gentle nudge onto the path. It was like, you're going to go now. So it was a huge leap, a big leap, and that um, the word trust keeps coming up as a trusting the process, right? And I am also I also do this a lot, but something that I do now with my clients or talk to my clients about is just trusting the process and noticing when doors are opening and when doors are closing, and being aware of that, what's going around us, and being able to step into through those doors as they open, and allowing the universe to work for us, right? And with us. With us might be the better word. And then being able to use these tools of energy healing, right? Using energy, whether it's yoga or Reiki or, of course, my favorite is sound healing, and using these tools to support that trust in that I'm moving in the right direction, and that I'm moving towards this, in being in this life of service to others. And it's, we're, even as a high school teacher, I was in this, life of service. I was working for my students, as you said, Paul. Just, my student was there, and I was like, wow, that's not how you say it. You say it this way, and say it with this intonation. And it was I was connected and part of
Yeah.
their journey, right?
Invested. Yeah.
Invested. And um, now, as I work with my students and work with my private clients as well, it's being invested in their journey, and allow at the, it's a double-sided, like being the guide and then also allowing them to do their own processing.
Right.
Because they, I, as the outsider, one of my clairs is that all knowing, like I know where they need to go, I know what the next step is, but they have to buy into it, or they have to be ready to take
Right.
that step
Right.
themselves, right?
Right.
um, and I think that by offering these different tools to my students, that they're able, the tools of sound healing, that they're able then to work through their own mindsets, and through their allowing that their past trauma to be released, so that they can step into their authentic selves,
Mhm.
into their life of service, into what their true path is, their
Mm.
zone of genius, right?
Mhm.
Um, so, and I used my path was using the voice, which looking back now is not surprising, I guess.
Right.
It was a big thing at the time though, using my voice for sound healing and using my
Yeah.
personal musical scale as I was going through the transition from high school teacher, that identity as high school teacher, to my identity as a sound healing practitioner and instructor, right? Even after I quit my job, I'd still introduce myself as a high school teacher for a while. It's like, yeah, I'm a high
Mm.
school teacher. Oh, actually, I just quit. A high school teacher. I'm a sound healing practitioner now.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
so allowing that those changes to happen
Mhm.
naturally, but also embracing that new identity has been um, it's been a journey for me, but also
Mhm.
allowing my students as well to work through their journey.
Right.
Uh, yeah.
That's a great place to be. And
Mm.
it's, you have an awareness that that's um, where you are and what's of value to you and to them. And I think that's experience and wisdom all in culmination, expressing itself.
Yeah.
It
So
shows.
it's a fascinating journey, just hearing, all of the pieces of your journey and how they all, when you look back at it, you can kind of see how they're all pointing towards this. And maybe there's something even further that this is pointing towards. There's another level and another level and another level that you're
Oh,
going towards, but it's all building in a trajectory.
So
yeah.
for Molly, your home base is Colorado Springs, Colorado, but you also service the western part of the United States, right? You offer workshops. Am I right about that?
Correct. Yeah, I am. Yeah, my territory is Colorado. So through the Sound Healing Academy, so I do workshops here, of course, throughout Colorado. But I am also opening up workshops throughout the west of the United States. So anywhere west of west of Colorado. Just I actually just came back from California, Redwood Valley, and did a workshop there and had an amazing experience with offering the the knowledge, the techniques and skills of the instruments and how it can be used for sound healing for
Yeah.
some amazing women who are now stepping into their paths as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
How do
yes, I
people how do people find you? I mean, where website or
yeah, a couple of different ways. My own website is actually my name, mollyadkins.com. And you
Mhm.
can find my,
ADK, ADKINS.
yes, yeah.
Mhm.
And you can find the trainings, workshops that I do through the Sound Healing Academy is linked on my website, as well as things that I'm doing on my own. And it's funny, I actually do a workshop specifically for yoga teachers, so sound healing training for yoga teachers. It's a one
Oh,
day
yeah, yeah, yeah.
event, so how they can use instruments, not the full, workshop like the academy teaches, but it's a great way to for yoga teachers to get those bases and be able to offer more to their clients. And then also my own voice workshops that I'm in the process of creating. You were mentioning, Paul, like the different layers. That's my next step, is offering just voice and teaching people to do how I use my voice.
Yeah. The
So
ultimate built-in sound healing tool. Yeah.
cool. Yes, yeah. So you can find me through my own website, mollyadkins.com, and also through the Sound Healing Academy, all of their workshops there as well.
Well, personal experience, I endorse you. It's a must experience. You truly are um, I don't mean master teacher even isn't right, but you have a universal connection to be of service through sound. And that's a gift that you take seriously and you um, respect anyone who is in your space, that's at the highest level that all of us can bring. But you have a gift. It's you do a really well job. So I'm endorsing you.
Yeah. Me too. Obviously you enjoy it and it has found you, and you have found it. And in this moment, it's the right thing at the right time.
Thanks again. Please come back. There's so much more we can delve into. So please come back at another time.
Yeah, I want to hear how the vocal aspect, the next chapter unfolds as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I just really enjoyed speaking with both of you. It's
Okay.
been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Once Upon a Quantum Leap is for your reference only. This podcast and the material is intended solely as educational information and should not be used for diagnosis or treatment of any health problem, financial, or legal advice.
You can listen to full episodes and find out about Paul and Capucine at onceuponaquantumleap.com. All reports shared on this show have been released with permission, and identifiers have been removed for individuals' privacy.
The Intuitive reports referred to in each episode are available on our website, on the podcast page, and through links in our show notes. We encourage you to listen to those for greater context.
If you're interested in obtaining your own intuitive report, go to quantuminsight.co. That's quantuminsight.co. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.